Hello there guys, Henrik here, and I got a theory for you, a game theory about the game called Five Nights at Freddy's. Um, yeah, no, the second game is out, and we all know that it's a prequel. Scott has well, he's confirmed that it's Scott has confirmed that it actually is a prequel, so then there's no speculation about that. We know that it is a prequel of the first game. But what I'm going to speak to you about now is, well, first of all, who is the phone guy? Um, we know that, or well, we seem to think that the phone guy is killed on the fourth night because we hear Freddy and we hear everything like that, and well, if he was killed, he would have killed him. Um, what I think is that you hear the banging noise. Well, well, first of all, what would seem most logical? Well, Freddy, wouldn't it? Because we hear Freddy's Toradora song. But where else can you hear that? You can hear that in the kitchen. Not in the kitchen, you can hear that when Freddy is in the kitchen. He plays that song too. Not only when he kills you. But it was loud though. How loud would it have to be able to, how loud would it have to be able for you to hear it over the phone recording? Well, if he was in the camera, if he was looking at his camera monitor and then looking in a kitchen, he would be able to hear that because the camera display also uh, shows you gives you sound and audio. Um, he, well, who was it then? Was it Foxy? No, Foxy was closed out because he banged on the door. So he banged on left door, which Fungi had closed for him to be banging on it anyway. That leaves Bonnie out in the mystery as well, because Bonnie only comes through the left door. Who is the one left? Chica. And is that logical? Yeah, the right door is open. So that makes sense. But what if Fungi was never really killed? What if he just fakes his death when Freddy comes in and then he somehow manages to, well, survive? Or what if he doesn't really need to manage to survive? What if the animatronics aren't really, yeah, because um well the first well one thing is that phone guy is probably the only reason why the animatronics are after you, because in the first game, I'm not talking about the second game now because I don't know about that, I haven't tested that there, but in the first game the animatronics only come after you and they only start moving after the phone call is done. On the second night, they already know that you're there. So then they start moving even in the phone call. I don't know too much about the second game. I haven't tested out the theory there. Uh, so yeah, phone guy is the only reason why the animatronics are after you. Uh, and Well, what if phone guy decided to screw the guy who was to take over his job just because, well, he's a bitch? He's, yeah, the phone guy is a jerk. We no matter what reason, he is a jerk. Um, and whether or not the animatronics are sentient, that or not, that they are not dangerous at all, I think. Now the phone guy recorded 4 days of audio, and that audio is just filled with false information, or n- not directly false information, but information that are intended to easily be misinterpreted. You can hear that. You know that everything is easily misinterpreted. He doesn't say much, but what he says is the half truth. Say the whole. He doesn't say what is the truth, the full truth. And he placed this information in a place where where Mike, you, would be sure to find it on your first day. So therefore, then he fakes his death on the fourth recording when Freddy comes visiting him, and he records the next 3 days of audio backwards. And the story about the 5 kids, and by the way, the 7, may or may not be true, but the phone guy uses that to kind of enforce the thought of that the animatronics are lethal. And phone guy's job, or not his job, but his goal, is apparently to make Mike so paranoid that you won't dare to risk to face the mascots. Really, you won't dare to face to you won't dare risking to face the animatronics. And when is Mike meets these animatronics and is caught, he faints and he dreams that he was killed, even though he wasn't. So assuming that the mascots are sentient and not on an auto cycle, there are a few ways that this could actually be. One, the ma- ma- the uh, the animatronics, they're internet and they all find it hilarious. Uh, and Freddy himself is either very unwilling to participate at first, or he's extremely dedicated to go freak out Mike. Two, only Freddy's the only animatronic that's in it, and the other animatronics are simply just trying to greet the new guy. Um, and when they start getting frustrated and perhaps offended by Mike's avoidance of them, Freddy comes up with a plan to greet Mike, and he convinces the others to be more forceful and unpredictable, even though they still want to just greet him. They don't try to hurt him at all. Or three, none of the animatronics are in on this project. Freddy still comes up with a plan to trick Mike so that the others can greet him when the others start complaining too much. perhaps Freddy's just sick of hearing the others whine about it. Whatever the motivations of the animatronics, Mike was never really in any real danger. He just freaks out over nothing and is jumping at ghosts. Mike's motivation for staying is, well, can be whatever. Uh, like, what if Mike's just a thrill seeker who believes there actually is real danger, but, well, if he ever was to find out the truth, he would be disappointed. The fun guy's motivation can be anything from him being an ass, or because it amuses him, to just making a profit from Mike's experience. Maybe he sells, maybe he sells a recorded movie of this as a comedy or a horror film, or what if Mike paid him for a job while he was looking for his thrills? Maybe Mike's in-universe story is the inspiration for the game we're playing. Hmm. Well, whatever the well, the, the phone guy, he wants you dead anyway. He wants everyone dead. Apparently no, but so Torador, the song that Freddy plays, uh, that doesn't appear. Yeah, that. Uh, wait, or was I? All right, well, Torador, the song that Freddy plays, doesn't really refer to Mike or to Freddy himself. It actually refers to the phone guy. He's not very happy about losing his job, and so he's trying to get a new guy killed, or at least, well, scared. Although I hope that management would realize he's the best for the job and can't be replaced. Every night you survive makes the odds that that makes them come to this conclusion less and less likely. Um, on every night, Fungi is calm and downplays the danger in an attempt to lull you into a false sense of security, or at least prevent you from fully grasping the severity of the situation. On night one, Fungi takes a relatively long time to mention that the animatronics will kill you, opting that instead to chat about how he used to have your job and why the robots are moving and read off a company required reading, which does mention death, but he's sure to remind the guard that he has nothing to worry about immediately after reading that. Um, but the time where he gets to the killing, he's already assured you that everything's fine. Well, not once, but twice. Uh, he doesn't. He's well. He's hoping that you'll be lulled into a false sense of security and dis- distracted long enough for one of the animatronics to get you. He also neglects to mention that the fact that Foxy does even exist, and how you should use your door lights, which he claims are very important next call. Uh, he doesn't mention conserving energy until the last second, hoping that you'll be using one of your devices through the call. He wouldn't want their doors shut or the lights on in a creepy pizzeria at night. And yeah, he hopes that you will be draining as much power as possible during the phone call. On the second night, he tries a different strategy by confusing you on the way to deal with a specific character. More specifically, he mentions Foxy, and he mentions that Foxy gets more active the less you look at him, implying that you should look more at him than. I guess he doesn't like being watched, he says, um, implying you shouldn't look at him. He also fails to mention that Foxy actually spraying at you, or spraying for you, I mean. And on the third night, Fungi tries to get a bit more psychological by implying others had died in your position. And then he's trying to deny that fact. And then he says that the horror you've already gone through gets worse and worse, but both in an attempt to get you jumpy enough that you screw up. Uh, and then he tries to bring up a strategy that actually does work, well, to an extent. Freddy will wait longer to kill you, but it won't make him leave you alone. And then he dismisses it, giving you another pretty scary possibility to think about it. Yeah, well, having a metal skeleton stuffed in you, while simultaneously making it unlikely you'll use the effective tactic. On the fourth night, he tries to once again draw your attention to the danger, this time by making you listen to a friend being killed in the same way you may be. Once again, trying to worry you enough to make you make a slip up. He's also hoping that you'll be distracted by the scary yet hard to stop listening to morbid curiosity message. As a semi-final desperate grasp, he asks you to check the back room, hoping you'll be stupid enough to do it during your work hours. On the fifth night, Fungi is pretty much out of options, and he uses his last desperate idea. A garbled, messed up, seemingly incomprehensible message, solely meant to be confusing and to scare you. He's hoping that that call, which seems distinctly unrelated to the animatronics and adds a new level to what's going on, will be end with scariness. Though he doesn't hold out much hope since you've already gotten this far. After that, he loses hope and accepts you will get in his position now. 2 days later, he gets a call from the pizzeria explaining that his replacement messed with the electronics and that they'd like him back if he's willing to come. And the phone guy is always one ahead of you. After all, he's giving you information on the night ahead. So he's on night 2 when you're on night 1, and so on, which certainly explains the phone call on night 4, though not the one on night 5. Heck, maybe phone guy is the victim of the Bito 87. Like, among the symptoms of damage of the frontal lobe are excessive risk taking, which just about defines this job, and inability to display appropriate emotions, including fear, and a reduced ability to retrieve information from their memory, including confabulation, the tendency to recall false information as true. So, it's actually possible that you are a phone guy and you just can't remember it, which also can explain a couple of things. Well, can you explain the fifth phone message then? You forgot to record one, and the tape is a recycled audiobook of Autobiography of a Yogi. So here's background. Of course, given that frontal lobe damage also affects long-term planning and management of resources, it would also explain him dying on the fourth night. Um, Phone guy is trying to get Mike's attention through the Golden Freddy suit. When the phone guy died, he was stuffed into the same suit he used to kill the children with. His ghost is now stuck inside Golden Freddy until someone figures out the truth behind the pizzeria. The reason why Golden Freddy doesn't show Mike into his suit is because Phone Guy accidentally kills Mike by giving him a heart attack. So here's what happened. The Phone Guy tries to tell Mike the truth when he sees him, as he's the only one who knows. But every time he does see Mike, he goes berserk and screams Mike's name to get him to listen up. Well, frontal lobe damage can lead to sudden aggressiveness. Unfortunately, the only thing that comes out of Phone Guy's mouth is an ear-piercing screech. 1987. This means that our dear friend was living his fate for 11 years. Ooh. Possibly just by Golden Freddy's presence in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, since Funga was still alive then. There are, however, some differences in Golden Freddy between the games, which can be argued as it's being a different Golden Freddy in each game, or by Funga's spirit altering its behavior somehow. Possibly him partially possessing it along with whatever originally drove his behavior. It does seem more spectral in the original, which definitely could be the Phone Guy. What if the Phone Guy is the fifth murdered child? That the fifth murdered child possesses the phone. That's how it's alive in the sequel, or the prequel. Or what if it is the sequel? And that's how He appears to know so much about the animatronics. His death on night 4 was him watching another security guard get killed. What if the phone guy was both the serial killer and the owner of the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? What if he was just so good at covering his tracks that CSI techniques at the time weren't enough to convict him? And they ended up convicting another suspect. The only ones he knew were the murdered children, and this whole setup was just to keep the possessed robots from targeting him. On night 4, he dies after the animatronics finally catch him, which he may have anticipated, but that would happen one day. But by this point, the children's cells have essentially degenerated completely to animals, which is why Freddy becomes so aggressive on this night, and why the new animatronics are so set to hunt down the old ones. As for who Phone Guy is in the trailer, it could be a twin brother or something who isn't nearly as screwed up as his now deceased sibling. Hence the warnings about making a poor career choice and commissioning the creation of the new animatronics. Okay, so the phone guy may actually be very timid. Like, this explains why he stirs a lot and that sounds, and that he sounds very nervous in general. He's always been very shy. Maybe the damage to his frontal lobe caused his personality to change from a very outgoing and affectionate guy. He's not actually scared of the robots because he's seen so many horror movies that he's used to scary things. He actually is more scared of talking to you. Just as the phone guy acts relatively normal until night 6 when the children murders apparently occurred, followed by the Bito 87 the next day. It seems he developed his timidness in 87 out of horror and what keeps happening at his beloved Freddy's. What if the phone guy is actually not dead? Like, not that animatronics couldn't kill him, but perhaps Mike did check the costumes and found the phone guy clinging barely to his life. At which point he was taken out before the place opened up, but after 6 a.m. and given medical attention. What if phone guy is somewhere where what if phone guy is from somewhere in the southern hemisphere? Like, the wiki notes that a phone guy is marking on a new summer job on the first night of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, despite a weekly paycheck in the same game revealing that it's early November. And it goes on to note that early November would be considered late fall in the northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere it would be the start of summer. It's possible that the game takes place in the southern hemisphere, but since the pay rate in that game actually fits the US federal minimum wage rate for that period to a T, it also seems like that game is set in the US. At any rate, Fungi is probably from the southern hemisphere, born and raised, and he's calling it Jeremy's summer job. Is forgetting that Americans consider November part of fall.